And then we have to share screen. So I am excited that we are doing the last chapter of Nahum, because I like it. It's just a culmination of course, our first two chapters. And yeah, it's just they do not mince words in Nahum. So just a quick refresh that Nahum is very unapologetically vengeful and violent toward it's directed towards Nineveh, right, the capital of Assyria, and just details all the ways that this army is going to be summoned to come and to destroy Assyria, right? Whether it's talking about the Babylonians or something else, whatever, the point is that this ultimately like all-powerful, cruel society, the Assyrians, is going to be completely destroyed. And we saw at the end, we had the metaphors with the lions, the lions, which were like Assyrians associate themselves with lions. So lions in the end are gonna be reversed and they won't be powerful anymore. And basically everything will be totally destroyed, essentially. And so if you're the Jews listening to this, you're probably pretty happy. And if you're the Assyrians listening to this, which like of course we never know if yeah, like did the message actually go anywhere? You are not as happy. So let's see our final chapter. Hoi ir damim kula kachash perek mle'a lo yamish tarif. Ah, city of crime, utterly treacherous, full of violence, where killing never stops. Oof. Kol shot v'kol ra'ash, ofan v'sus doher umerkava umerakeda. Crack of whip and rattle of wheel, excuse me, galloping steed and bounding chariot. So just to pause, what we see here in the beginning is that we have these like short, like little, is it a clause? Is that the word that we would use? That are being used here, right? Crack of whip, galloping steed, bounding chariot. It's not really like longer, elaborate verses. Um, yeah. Also, it is interesting to think that the book opens with hoy, right? Which hoy or oi, it's an opening word that connotes like grieving, right? Essentially. And so the question is, what are we grieving? Is it, so, I mean, Beasley says, it could be suggested that Nahum is grieving over the Assyrians' fate, but a subsequent portrayal of the Syrians' iniquities quickly eliminates this meaning as a possibility here, right? So yeah, interesting opening, but so maybe it's sarcastic. I think I would argue, at least suggest that potentially it's seen as a sarcastic oi.
So my Tanakh, which I
Hmm.
believe is a more literal translation, says, "Woe to the city of blood."
Right.
Yes, excellent, excellent, great. Does anyone else have that too?
Yep.
Beautiful. Okay, yeah, that is 100% what it means. Ir damim. Don't know why JPS went with treacherous. I agree. City of Blood is absolutely like the proper translation.
It's a
Like
great image.
I know, right? Yeah. It's also great because is it are we saying that it's going to be a city of blood because of all the carnage, or is it that that Nineveh is a city of blood because of all the killing they've done to other people? Um, and what he notes is that the other prophets use Ir Damim and like in different ways as well. Um, okay. Just one second.
I didn't know that word WOE, woe, and I found out that in prophetic literature, woe is a funeral cry.
Right.
Uh,
Right. Does anyone have woe instead of ah?
I
Yeah.
have woe.
You have woe. Oh, you have
Yes, I
those
have
two
woe.
multiple. Great. All right. So JPS is kind of in a different league today. Okay, great. Yeah, I would say both of those are more accurate. All right. To three, Parash ma'ale v'lahav cherev uverak chanit verov chalal v'koved pager ve'ein ketze legvia v'kashlu b'gviatam. Charging cavalry, flashing swords, and glittering spears. hosts of slain and heaps of corpses, dead bodies without number, they stumble over bodies. So one of the things to note here, of course, is that there are three different words all used to refer to corpses, right? So that's pretty intense. And Hagar is only in three other places in the Bible, and it's always like in a very, very, very negative connotation. Once it's when it is used when David asserts he will give the Philistine corpses to the birds. The second is Isaiah uses it to describe Babylonia's downfall, and then Amos has this vision of the basket of summer fruits and says that women will cry out that there are so many corpses everywhere. Right, so this is the fourth usage of that word. It's clearly negative and scary and foretelling doom. So that's our that's our opening, our three verses of like declaring like the worst things possible. Great. Then we move to the because. So mirov zinunei zona tovat chen ba'alat keshafim hamocheret goyim biznudneha umishpachot bikshafeha. It's because of the countless whoredoms of the whore, the winsome mistress of sorcery. Please tell me you have better translations, who ensnared nations with her whoredoms and peoples with her sorcery.
I
So
have the many harlots of the harlot.
yes.
Same idea, slightly different words,
Okay.
with the concept being that Nineveh would first entice and befriend the kings of the land to gain their confidence, would then attack and conquer them.
Beautiful. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep. Um, sorry. And of course, Judah felt a huge part of that, right? Because Judah would enter into these vassal-like relationships with Assyria, right? So, and it didn't end well. And then once the Syrians destroy Israel, then they turn to Judah to look at Judah.
What's the connotation of sorcery here? Because we've been talking about their viciousness, their attacks, their thing like that, and all sorcery.
Yeah, it's a great question. First of all, I mean it dovetails nicely with this week's parsha that it's a word that is used for what's the punishment for a sorceress, or what does the Torah say about sorceresses? Sorceress. Yeah.
I know it's capital punishment. I don't know which
Right,
type.
exactly. Well, yeah, that's all I was gonna say, right? Is that they have to be eliminated entirely, right? So if you say that Assyria is engaged in it, it means you have to eliminate them. Yeah, so here's what Beasley says about it. He says Nahum's condemnation of Assyrian sorcery in verse 4 echoes Micha's earlier denouncement of the Jewish people's involvement in witchcraft and reflects the Bible's condemnation of pagan worship, including the occult and perversions. Captured people would adopt the Assyrian practices, hoping to stave off enslavement, but they were ultimately exiled or sold into slavery. It is the Assyrian penchant for acts of perfidy and betrayal that lead to the severity of the shameful punishment which is to befall them, described in the next verse. Yeah, so it's also just the association being pagan.
So they're saying their Israelite captives also adopted sorcery, adopted these practices.
Yeah, yeah, right. So I guess it's not only
Therefore,
that.
when they previously said the slaves would have corpses would die, that's why the Israelite captives would be killed in this.
Ah, sure, maybe.
Well, didn't the previous verse talk about the slaves as part of the corpses?
Slave? Where do you have a different translation?
I'm just listening. I can't read.
Oh, I sorry, I have a cold. It said hosts of slain. Sorry if it sounded like slave.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, no, no. I just okay, great. Okay, so 5, God keeps going. Hineni elayich neum Hashem tzvakot v'giletu shulayich al panaich v'her'eti goyim arech u'mamlachot kalonech. I'm going to deal with you, declares God of hosts. I will lift up your skirts over your face and display your nakedness to the nations and your shame to kingdoms. Right? This is a not uncommonly used metaphor to describe the public shaming act, lifting the skirt up. Anyone have any comments here?
Behold, I am against you.
Behold, I'm against you. Interesting. Okay.
That's
All
right.
right, great. All right, so then God keeps going. V'hishlachti alayich shikutzim v'nibaltich v'samtich karo'eh. Roe, excuse me. Ugh. I will throw loathsome things over you and disfigure you and make a spectacle of you. So this is just like total, complete humiliation, denigration, etc.
It seems like the wrong order. Starts with killing them all, and now we're just into making, denigrating them and making them, woeful, objects of derision.
Yeah,
Once they're dead, I mean,
that's good. It's a very good point.
Rather than making a spectacle of you, God, I will make you like dung.
Dung, right.
Okay.
D-U-N-G, dung.
Yeah, yeah.
So this is
We had that.
spectacle after death.
Yeah, he has abominable filth here. Okay. So,
Spectacle
sorry, go
and
ahead.
dung are not the same thing.
What?
A spectacle and dung are not the same thing.
Yeah.
In my,
Well, right, Kiroi. I think it's alayich shikutzim, right?
yeah, in my verse,
Um,
there's an explanation that says like dung,
like dung, yeah.
expression like, and he shall remove its crop with its intestines from Leviticus 1:16.
So this is the 7 is a very interesting verse. V'haya kol ro'ayich yedod mimech ve'amar shadeda ninveh mi yanud lah ume'ayin avakesh v'nachamim lach. All who see you will recoil from you and will say, Nineveh has been ravaged. Who will console her? Where shall I look for anyone to comfort you? So the first half seems to be, I think, continuation of this humiliation, right? Humiliation in the Tanakh is often accompanied by people looking, and like part of it is other people looking and saying like, what happened here? I find the second half very interesting, right? Mi anudla, and then mi ayin avekesh minachamim lach. Where am I going to look for someone to comfort you? Very interesting because, of course, the name of the prophet is Nachum, right? Comfort. It's the same word, and so I doubt that's a coincidence. And also, it's not right. I would imagine is also intended as mocking, right? As sarcastic and not literally suggesting that we have to look for someone to comfort Assyria, right? The idea is no one's there. All right, so now we go to our next chunk. Hatevti mino amon hayoshva be'orim mayim saviv la asher chel yam miyam chomata. Were you any better than No Ammon, which sat by the Nile, surrounded by water, its rampart a river, its wall consisting of a sea? So, No Ammon is the Thebes, the one, or I don't know if I pronounced that correctly, the once prestigious Egyptian capital, which was destroyed and sacked by the Assyrians in 663. Right. So, of course, you're going to be like the city that you yourselves destroyed, right? Remember the number you did on No Ammon? All right. That's going to, be done to you. And also until its defeat in 663 BCE, the city was considered to be unconquerable. So,
What did we say was formerly Thebes?
Okay.
What did we say was formerly Thebes?
What?
Luxor.
Okay, now we go to Kush Atzma Umitzrayim Ve'en Ketzev Put Uluvim Hayub Ezratech. Populous Kush and teeming Egypt, Put and the Libyans, they were her helpers. Beasley has it somewhat different here. Anyone got comments here?
I've got it directly. It was your helpers.
Yeah,
Helpers
interesting.
here.
Why would they change it here? Why does JPS do this? I don't know.
The helpers here meaning the Assyrians army.
Like other nations helped conquer. Yeah. Here, so he says, through the rhetorical question, Nachum establishes a clear analogy between Noamon and Nineveh. Egypt was a mighty empire, yet it fell to the Assyrians when those countries closest to it, i.e., Put and Lubim, fought against it together with the foreign invaders. Nachum is hinting that those countries that would conquer Nineveh would be its neighbors, those closest to it geographically and historically, which in this case are the Babylonians and the Medes, Medes. Yeah, I mean, look, like what you did, all the horror you inflicted, now you're going to be the victim of the same horror, which I think, is an appropriate message. גם היא לגולה הלכה בשבי, גם עולליה ירוצו בראש כל חוצות, ועל נכבדיה ידו גורל, וכל גדוליה רותקו בזיקים. Oh, sorry. Yet even she was exiled. She went into captivity. Her babes, too, were dashed in pieces at every street corner. Lots were cast for her nobles, and all her dignitaries were bound in chains. Right. So just once again, that happened to others, and now it's going to happen to you. Also, what Beasley points out is that throughout the book, Nahum draws on some of Isaiah's and Joel's prophecies against Israel's enemy. So, for example, he says Isaiah described how the children of Babylon would be dashed in pieces before their eyes, and Nahum similarly describes how the children of Noamon were dashed to pieces. Yoel promised that on the day of judgment, God will contend with the nations who abused Israel and its exiles and, quote, cast lots over my people and bartered a boy for a harlot and sold a girl for wine. Nachum draws on the prophecy from Yoel, noting that Noamon had faced a similar fate, a fate similar to that of the enemies described in Yoel. As the people of Noamon were led off by chains by their Assyrian conquerors, the onlookers would cast lots for her honorable men, and all her great men were bound in chains. Having introduced his list of the continued abuses against the citizenry of Noamon with the word gam, meaning also, Nachum repeats the word gam in verse 11, which we'll see in a moment, to emphasize that the unfortunate fate that had befallen Noamon and the fate that would soon befall Nineveh are one in the same. So just to close that up, gam at tishkeri tehi na'alama, gam at tivakshi ma'oz me'oyev. You too shall be drunk and utterly overcome. You too shall seek a refuge from the enemy. So I appreciate that it's like going into so much detail with Nineveh of what exactly they did and therefore what's going to happen to them. Because it's so hard to hear messages when they're vague or short and here, God is basically saying, I saw everything that you did to these other people, and I'm going to make sure all those things that you did are going to happen to you.
Why,
So,
why the word "too" there? You too shall become drunk.
Right. So that's what he says is saying you too, you Assyria, just like what happened to Egypt, is going to happen to you.
Thank you.
Was
so I was
someone,
gonna,
yeah.
Where was the tribe of Judah at this point? Are they in Babylon? Are they in exile?
No,
Is-
they're still in Israel. Not
So
doing too well.
why is Nahum focused on Nineveh when there is a prophecy for the Jews to be exiled?
Well, I
Okay.
think, look, so there's a lot of debate over when this book is written, right? When is it dated to? Um, so yeah, different opinions. It seems like Judah still has control of Jerusalem, right? The Assyrians never destroyed Jerusalem. So they destroy a lot of Judah, but not Jerusalem. And so, this could just be Judah at its weakest, with yes, Jerusalem and like a little bit surrounding area, but not much, prophesying this like tremendous downfall of Assyria, which of course looks ridiculous at the time, given the power, discrepancy, but is therefore powerful if you believe in it.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. כל מבצרייך תאנים עם ביכורים אם ינועו ונפלו על פי אוכל. All your forts are fig trees with ripe fruit. If shaken, they will fall into the mouths of devourers. I love that image, right? Yeah.
I imagine that I have a fig tree and it happens like that.
Oh,
You shake
yeah?
it, fell.
Yeah. Do you actually shake it? Is that how you get fruit from it?
Well, they are mature. When they are mature, just a single shake, but you have to see them really purple to do that.
Uh-huh.
They're delicious.
Interesting. And he notes that fig trees were common in Nineveh, right? So this it makes sense to use this image also. Yeah. Okay. Hine, this is not the best pasuk, but Hine amech nashim bekirbech leoivayich patoach niftechu sha'arei artzech ve'achla ish berichayich. So truly, the troops within you are women. The gates of your land have opened themselves to your enemies. Fire has consumed your gate bars. So, yes, this is not the nicest image to use, of course, to compare them to women, but certainly it's intended to um, like depict powerlessness against the enemies,
Yeah.
right?
In my
Yeah.
translation, they have your people are quotation parentheses like close parentheses women.
Ah, interesting. Okay, good. Yeah, yeah, the word is missing here. Ke is missing, the comparison. Beautiful. Um, okay, me matzor she'avi lach chazki mitzarayich boi batit verimsi b'chomer hachaziki mila ben malben. Okay, draw water for the siege, strengthen your forts, tread the clay, trample the mud, grasp the brick mold. Um, Okay, so he says, as fire consumes the city structures, Nahum returns to sarcastically barking orders at the defenders that scramble to repair the breaches in the city wall. Draw water, make clay. But as is the case with regard to the commands that Nahum shouted out in 2:2, any attempt on the part of the Assyrians to actually respond to those commands and save themselves is futile. There's nothing Nineveh's defenders can do. The battle is lost. Yeah. So this is also making fun of them. What, yeah, I guess the like Nachum uses such pointed sarcasm. Sometimes it feels like when the prophets are speaking about the enemies, they still kind of want to be the bigger person in that way, right? And so, we're different or focused on the Jews ultimately surviving, right? And not making the evilness of the enemy the main focus. Whereas here, Nahum's like totally leaning into that, um, taunting them, going right into like how awful it's going to be. That's why I find this book so interesting. It's so like straight up. And right, and because it's just, I guess I could see how some people would think it sounds childish. It's just I think it has its place just because the Assyrians were just so evil. I mean, they were so bad. That I think it has its place to really come out and like lash out against them. Okay. Sham tochlech ish tachritech cherev tochlech kayalek hitkabed kayelek hitkabdi ka'arbet. All right, there's a lot of like wordplay going on here. Their fire will devour you. The sword will put an end to you. It will devour you like the grub, multiply like grubs, multiply like locusts. All right. What's going on with the locusts? Does anyone have a good comment so far? So tell me about locusts.
The translation for like the nibbling locust, uh,
Hmm.
you shall be covered heavily with troops like the nibbling locust.
Ah, okay, great.
Wearing is an expression of heavy people.
Yeah. Okay, great. Yeah. Here, so there's different things to say about locusts. Locust is, and maybe here, let's just do 16 and 17 real fast because it's also still about the locust. Here, beit rochlaich mikochvei hashamayim yelek pashat ve'yaof min zarayich ka'arbe ve'tafserayich kegov govai hachonim b'gdeirot beyom kara shemesh zarcha v'nodad ve'lo noda mekomo ayam. You had more traders, not traitors, traders, like merchants, than the sky has stars. The grubs cast their skins and fly away. Your guards were like locusts, your marshals like piles of hoppers that settle on the stone fences on a chilly day. When the sun comes out, they fly away, and where they are, nobody knows. So, the thing about locusts is that they are simultaneously very powerful and also very weak. So, yes, they are very sensitive to temperature. So, if it gets too cold, they can't really function. That is what Beasley said. I'm relying on his knowledge of locusts here. Also, when they're on a fence or what have you, a bird can just swoop in to grab it. So, in that sense, they are vulnerable. Now, of course, locusts are also very strong because their strength is in numbers, right? We've some of us maybe remember what happened with the locusts. I think it was Ethiopia a few years ago, right? When they can swarm in and decimate crops like almost instantly, right? Which is, of course, why they're one of the plagues in Egypt, and that is what they do in Egypt. They consume the crops that were not yet destroyed. So, a funny balance of powerful in numbers, but also individually very weak. Um, Additionally, as some of us may remember from when we did Joel, the the whole book is really about a metaphor, maybe literally, locusts coming. Whether it's an invading army or it's actual literal locusts, it's all centered really around that image of the locusts. And so Nahum definitely is drawing on those books with the metaphor here. Does anyone have any comments on the locusts? Okay. Oh, I forgot one thing. That Ashurbanipal, who was the Assyrian king, um, there's evidence that he used like dense swarm of grasshoppers to refer to others, and there's also a relief it's now in the British Museum that depicts a royal feast commemorating the defeat of the king of Elam, and Ashurbanipal is seen reclining, and there's a locust on this relief as well. So locusts clearly were a symbol for the Assyrians, right? Symbol possibly of the enemy and the enemy now having been destroyed. So it makes sense. It's very appropriate that Nahum would be using this. Of course, once again, reversing it and then using it to taunt the Assyrians. All right. Jump in if you have any other comments. Now we're going to go to the our last two psukim here, which I find super, super, super interesting. Okay, Namu ro'eich. Sorry, this cold is killing me. Namu ro'echa melech Ashur yishkenu adirecha nafoshu amcha al heharim ve'ein mekabetz. Your shepherds are slumbering, O king of Assyria. Your sheep masters are lying inert. Your people are scattered over the hills, and there is none to gather them. So this is interesting. We switch abruptly to male pronouns, first of all, right? We are now speaking to a man, which presumably, of course, is the king of Assyria. And which is interesting also because the other chapters conclude with speaking to the leaders directly, right? The second one was, excuse me, the destruction of the lions, right? And the Assyrian kings like to think of themselves as lions. And the first chapter was saying you're not going to have any namesake or anything like that left, right? So we turn to the king once again, and we're saying, yep, your people are everywhere, no one to gather them up. You are as exiled and destroyed as all the people you exiled and destroyed. But that's not it. We have our last verse, and this is where I think, like the book, fascinating. Ein keha l'shivrecha nachala makatecha kol shom'ei sham'acha tak'u chaf alecha ki al mi lo avra ra'atcha tamid. There
Wow.
is no healing for your injury, right? Your wound is grievous. All who hear the news about you clap their hands over you, for who has not suffered from your constant malice? So, yeah, I mean, malice, wickedness is what he has. Um, Different translations, right? It's just ra'atcha, your badness, right? Your evilness. But I love that the book ends on this note because it is Nahum saying, yeah, you're going to be completely destroyed. But what's the worst part? Everyone is gonna celebrate. Not celebrate because they're mean, not celebrate because they're gratuitous. They're gonna celebrate because there is no one who was not touched by your evil, right? Um, so there's so much we could say about this, and I'm happy, just wanted to save time for a conversation about this. What does it mean to be ending this book of destruction, foretelling the destruction of the enemy with everyone's going to be cheering because there's no one who was not affected by you? Um, why end on that note? Or what's the ultimate point? Who's this book for? I'm open to take this in any direction.
I like that clapping of hands because everyone who hears of Assyria's fall rejoices,
Yep.
because everyone suffered under them.
Yep. 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 Yep.
What doesn't make sense in this book of Nahum is
Okay.
in a time where God is going to destroy Judah or has already destroyed part of Judah. Nahum is not talking to Judah, he's talking to
Yeah.
Assyria and to Nineveh.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if that's just to give the Jews hope that Assyria is not going to last, or it doesn't make sense from a point of view of trying to guide. If the role of the prophet is to guide the Jews in the right way to
Mm-hmm.
abide God.
Yep. Yep. So what is this book doing here? Yep.
Yeah.
And why is it called Nahum? Right? I mean, it's like there's no one's even trying to hide the point of this book, right? I have to imagine that Nahum is like a sarcastic name for it. Feel free to push back, but like to me, it just feels it's a biting irony, right? It is intended as such. To call this book Comfort, and then you open it, and it's explicit about Nineveh's downfall and it's not, there's no comfort explicit, there's no explicit comfort, right? I assume implied is that it is comfort to the Jews, to the Judah, right, to know that this will happen. But other than that, right, it's absent from the book, other than to say that there will be no comfort for Assyria explicitly, right? Right, there won't be anyone left to comfort her. Um, And in fact, I forget who it was now, but Nahum was cited as one of the examples of, when the Christians were sort of saying the Old Testament, or the Tanakh, I should say, the Jews sometimes are not good. This is one of the books that's referenced. Look, it's all violent, it's all vengeful, right? Look at these Jews and what the type of stuff that they read.
But it is comfort, just like the Song of the Sea when the Egyptians
Yeah.
were defeated. What I see here at the end is reference to what we felt at the Song of the Sea. We got comfort from the Egyptians being destroyed. The Song of the Sea is an extremely violent, vengeful song.
Yeah.
And we're getting comfort here that a new enemy is destroyed. So
Yep.
that's how I see, and I see it as comfort and not ironic at all. I guess I'm.
Yes, correct. Right. I think it's appropriate comfort for the Jews and ironic for the Assyrians. Yeah, because there's just nothing
Yeah,
good possibly in here.
I've been going through the things that are prophesied for the vengeful things that are prophesied for Nineveh with the vengeful things that our God has done to the Egyptians in Song of the Sea. But we basically talk about how wonderful it is that he's killed all the Egyptians.
Yep.
who pursued us. So
Yep. Yeah.
I just see the parallel.
I know. No, I have a trouble when people try to gloss over the fact that I think there's absolutely the notion of bearing witness to the destruction of your enemy and a healthy amount of gloating is organic to our texts, right? Like it's in there. This yeah, so I just think it's like important to acknowledge that, right? I think maybe sometimes we're uncomfortable with that, both because it seems unattractive and also perhaps, the influence of like the more Christian societies under which we live. But it's very authentic to the
And
text to have a place for not just anyone, right? But the most evil people in the world, right? It's okay to be happy when they are destroyed. And I think it's like important to articulate that.
many of our prophets, most of our prophets, I think, well, I'll say many, foretell bad things that will happen to us because we are not following God. So the books, the good parts of Tanakh are when destruction is visited upon our enemies, we can say, it's not just us. They get it too. They're worse.
Yep. 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 Uh-huh.
Because
Yeah.
there's a point that I guess it's throughout all the text. Nachum is saying that God is going to take care of them. We are passive,
Hmm.
and it kind of mimics what you read in the Haggadah. God did it, and which is kind of our history. We're waiting for somebody to save us, and we don't save ourselves.
Yeah.
So Nahum is not saying, fight Assyria, and
Right.
it's just saying, this is your punishment, survive it, and at some point,
Hmm.
Assyria will be punished too, which doesn't make too much. Again,
Yep.
I don't know what's the message for us in general. And the late prophets do the same thing. God is going to save us. But we
Yeah.
know God is not always saving us.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. By the way, I found the two quotes about the Christians commenting on Nahum. One was in 1903. Such is the sheer religion of the book of Nahum, thoroughly oriental in its sense of God's method and resources of destruction, very Jewish, dot, 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 and the bursting of its long pent-up hopes of revenge. We, the Christian West, should not attribute so much personal passion to the avenger. With our keener sense of law, we should emphasize the slowness of the process. That is from G.A. Smith from 1903. And then more modern scholars, this is an ex quote from 1986. We often wish Nahum were not in the canon, and the book has almost been totally ignored. Right? So yes, you
But
know,
it's not vengeance. It's not revenge. It's justice.
right, 100%, 100%. Yeah. And that, yeah, I just find it interesting on so many levels.
You notice they
Yeah,
don't,
go
The,
ahead.
the hypocrisy is screaming out at me.
What'd you say, Thera?
The
The hypocrisy?
hypocrisy is screaming out at me. It's
Yeah.
like turn the other cheek. What is that? Turn the other cheek during the Spanish Inquisition, turn the other cheek during the Crusades. Come on.
Yeah.
and they also don't lament the books that talk about the destruction of the Jews. They talk about the books that talk about the destruction of non-Jews.
Yeah. And just it's so untempered here, right? Like we often saw in previous books that we've studied, there'll be, if a chapter is 20 verses, like the first 18 are about bad things that are going to happen, and the last two, it's like, but don't worry, right? Someone will survive. And here, nope. There is nothing, absolutely nothing. And the last thing I'll just say, just because I'm aware of the time, we could discuss this for hours, and I'd love to. Is that another thing that Beasley points out is that in the Tanakh, it's next to the book of Jonah. And of course, Jonah is sent by God to go tell Nineveh to repent. And Jonah doesn't want to, right? We studied it together, right? He is Ben Amitai, he's a man of truth. And truth means You don't just go get your enemies to repent and have them be forgiven. So he tries to avoid that. And of course, God keeps nudging him directly towards this mission, and he delivers the message, and Nineveh repents and is saved, right? And so there's lots of Yonah is just a story. It's not really necessarily ever happened, etc. But it is also important to point out, right, that we have these two totally opposing um ideas, right? One is that the evil will be punished and completely decimated, and the other is like actually even the most evil people in the world can repent and be saved by God, right? And what do you want to do with that? When I did this with my high schoolers earlier this year, we talked about like Nahum essentially as like a revenge fantasy. Totally legitimate, but also a revenge fantasy. Which is, more realistic, like which is the book that we're supposed to, you know, yeah, what do we praise prime,
But it's
what's the
not,
secondary, what's the primary, right? Because they are in some ways opposite, or at least, right? Yonah doesn't acknowledge evil in Nineveh at all, and Menachem doesn't acknowledge the potential of forgiveness at all, right? They're completely talking past each other. So what do we do with the fact that we have one of each, right, in our canon?
What's the sequence? I mean, Yonah comes after Nahum, but in terms of history or when this was supposed to have happened,
There are
it-
so many debates over when these books came about. I think it's really hard to say which book is responding to which.
because if Nineveh repented and then turned
Yeah,
into the Nineveh in the book of Nahum,
yeah,
then they just were backsliding, and
yeah.
eventually they did get their comeuppance.
Or is it just like choose your own ending, right? Like, do you want to live in a Nachum world or do you want to live in a Yonah world, right? And I think our personalities are a spectrum. Some people want, some people just aren't naturally vengeful, right? I'm not one of them. I like justice to be delivered, right? But some people are like, "Meh," they don't need it as much. So,
I don't think it's revenge. I mean,
right, maybe it's just justice.
Nahum is not talking about revenge. There is no perek that says, I'm doing this because you hurt the Jews.
Right.
I think it's God's way of punishing Assyria for whatever reason that we don't understand. I mean, why does he care that they're not following God's law?
Yeah.
But I don't think it's revenge. I don't see the causality or the association between the two.
Right.
I
Maybe it's
mean,
more justice, right? To get, yeah.
Yeah, and it also parallels God's attributes because we have the God of mercy and the
Yeah.
God of justice.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
how do you reconcile that?
Uh-huh. Yep. Yep. Was Yonah wrong in running away from God, right? And saying, no way. I'm not ready. I'm not ready to forgive, I mean, and then it goes back to like the sunflower by Simon Wiesenthal, which I haven't actually read, but I know, the gist of it, right? And Nazi, can you forgive? Like, what are the limits here? And which one does God want us to be like more? If it was clear cut, we wouldn't have both books, I think.
Mm.
So, yeah. But like I say, the fact that just because of the nature of our liturgy and the way we treat these books, most of us, if you hear Nineveh, we think of Yonah, right? But it's really important to know that we also have Nachum about Nineveh, right? And to respect that both are there and to know about both of these.
But we
So,
don't read Nahum once a year in a public place.
correct.
Maybe we should.
Correct. Maybe we should. Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
like I like this book.
I know. I just love its place. I love that it goes all the way, right? And Nahum, like a mocking name, like it just doesn't, it's not apologizing for what it is, which I think is important. So, yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I leave us with. Yeah. All right. Well, this was lovely.
Thank you,
All
Bruce.
right.
Thank
Have a
you.
wonderful week, everyone. Enjoy the weather.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Next.
I know.
Thank you.
I'm gonna go outside right now. Enjoy a little bit.
Yeah.
All right. Have a good one, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay.